Right, so welcome everyone to today's session on Pivot Interactives. We're delighted here to have Glenda Denicolo from Suffolk Community College and Todd Leaf, who is now at Creighton Prep in Nebraska. And they're going to share some of the activities that they've been working on. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to you all.
All right. Glenda and I got together this morning, and I think I'm going to start. But oh, let me look. I got to figure out how to share. All right, share here and share. So I don't know how many people are 100% familiar with Pivot Interactives, but my role here is to talk a little bit about how I use Pivot Interactives in my physics classes. I teach three levels of physics. Basically, one is APC, APAB, and the other one is just a on level physics class. And I think the screen I'm sharing with you shows what everybody else can get into. And I probably should tell you all that if you go to the chat, you can click on the chat and the link to get into our AP or our workshop should be there. And all of a sudden, I should find this class roster, which will show more people. And it looks like some of you have already done it. Awesome. I got 4 of you in there so far. And uh, so the looks like this. And we're supposed to make sure that you do not use your school email in case in the long run you want to become Pivot Interactive owners in your own classes. It just is really difficult to do that exchange if you don't do it on a personal email. So, okay, I'm going to make a big assumption that that worked out good. Okay, so as you see, Pivot Interactives looks like this. Uh, and Glenda's going to have some astronomy activities that she's going to share with you, and I'm going to show you a couple ways that I've used it in physics. And I also want to show you a couple of these buttons up here, which I think are kind of important. So you see that like I have my levels of classes and then the workshop. And there's the Pivot library, which was created by Pivot Interactives. And then you have a personal library, and then our entire science department at school uses this, so it's not just for physics anymore. And Pivot recently came up with this thing called starter packs that are kind of neat. And depending upon what section of physics you're in or what you want to do, it kind of leads you to a nice little set of curriculum. And Glenda has a nice set for astronomy, is a nice little sampler thing. So, and the rest of it is just like finances and stuff like that. And we purchase a entire package, which is basically $5 per our student. And I think Glenda said her students purchase $10.
$10. $10 per student per semester.
And so one of the things that I really find, especially since I've been teaching way too long and I don't want to have to reinvent the wheel too often. If you go to the Pivot library and you had literally anything that you wanted to search for, so I'm going to check in the Pivot library really quickly to see if I can find Millikan. Is it Millikan? I think Millikan
Yep.
alone might work. And it says their library doesn't have any. But if you hit the community library, the Millikan oil drop experiment is here. And I'm probably pretty confident that a lot of people don't have the Millikan oil drop at their junior college. And so this is really nice. It works slick. And I use this every E&M class for my APC kids. And this magnetic field, the old Helmholtz coil, master charge ratio. I remember that experiment very well as an undergrad, and I use that as well. Works really slick, and I think it's always interesting that the students are amazed that you can get measurements 10 to the negative 19th, right? Or you can get the master charge ratio, and it works really nice. Okay, but I am going to show you what my favorite thing to do is. So if you pull, I'll tell you, if you pull one of these up, you can always just pull it up and copy it to your library, personal library, copy the destination. And so it's now in my personal library. And so once I have it in my personal library, I can go personal library and uh, it tells you different kind of things. But when you're in personal library, preview it, see what it looks like. And the nice thing is you can just hit assign it to given due dates when you want your kids to see, and then you figure out what class you want to assign it to. So I'm going to assign it to the optics workshop so that everybody can look at it if they want to later. I was going to do the same thing with the other one, but I won't. But then I was just going to mention that. So if I had something like this, I've already named this from my own personal library. You can rename it. So C-Prep Physics, you still can give credit to everybody. And so if you're in here, you can edit it. And that's probably the really cool feature. And I'm sure Glenda's going to talk a little bit about that. But when you get these, there are these three tabs: activity info, activity content, and the change log. So under activity, it tells you a description, it gives you tags, and I don't know for sure who CSUF is, but whoever that is, that's the author of who created this one. And these are your tags. So if you're looking it up, it's really easy to work and figure. And then when you click on activity content, these are the places where you can add sections, you can add graded components, you can add video, etc. And then I'm trying to remember change log. Oh, I think that's just if you changed it, what you changed and what was originally there. Okay. So now I'm going to jump to one more thing. Probably one of the most often used things by me is I loved video analysis. And so when I assign something to my kids to do video analysis, this version is always open. And you'll see it has a with video upload. And so this is just a template. And this template could work very well for all of kinematics. And I have used it, literally any kind of kinematic things. And beforehand, I make adjustments. But the nice part about it is it's kind of set up nice so it has a way to stick a video in. My kids all have iPads or phones, and they can directly upload, choose the file off their phone, choose it off their iPad. If they're using their iPad to do this, it makes it even easier. And every one of these videos gives you tools, color, angles, grids, different places for lines, timing, another kind of line. And those tools, they all appear in your video when you load it. And then down here, there's a little calibration thing. So just like you did on Video Point, if you take a picture, a nice video, something, make sure you have something that you know the measurement on. And you can change different things. But that's pretty simple. And we're going to give you time to play when I get done talking. And then I'm sure when Glenda gets done talking, same thing. But once you take all the data, you can record the data here. And the tools are really nice because if you want to add columns, you can add columns to the right or left. You can remove columns. Once you actually get real data, then you can come over here to the little circle and you can do line graphs, bar graphs, curve fits, Curve fifths are wonderful because you actually have to have some stuff here, but all kind of curves, the same kind of curves that you would be able to get in uh, Video Point or any kind of other video analysis software. But it's very, very, very student friendly. I literally have kids that do it one time or the second time, and they can linearize and best fit lines like, you know, very, very easy to do. All right, I also on this one has so acceleration, so we can do velocity time, we can do position time, and this is just my little thing that I want you to play with. So you can go drag a video out here, drop it in, and see what it's like. Okay, one more thing, then I'm gonna let Glenda talk. Uh, so here's one of the examples, something that my students worked with. Uh, Fidget spinners. I know they're not a thing anymore, but I got a whole bunch of them really cheap, and they're kind of fun. So we literally set this down. You see, we have a ruler, etc. We hit play, and the kids rotated them, and we set up all kinds of nice little questions. You know, what happened to the blue one? What happened to the orange one? What happened to the green one? And I also have this in a mode called inline question view, which I like. My kids really like that. And on the other side, if it's not inline, you know, you have your video, you take your data, but then you got to scroll down here, put in your data, right? And then, like here, calculate angular acceleration for the blue spinner. Fit in your information, and you know that we have to measure angle and time, but then we're going to have to measure angular velocity before we can get angular acceleration. So to do that, we can always come in here, add a column, and then we come down here and graph one. It might show us that we actually have an acceleration, and you can add other graphs. The kids can do that right there. Then I did it for the orange spinner, and I did it. You can do assessments, etc., and then some specific instructions that you can look at different kind of values. So after I think Glenda gets done talking, we're gonna let you play. So Glenda, I'm gonna let you go from here.
All right. We plan to have some time for everybody to play with the any of the notebooks or like just the physics and then just astronomy. I think that's the plan, right? I just wanted to say some things that are not even just in respect to physics, but just the general about pivot in general. I just wanted to bring up. I know Chris has asked me, Glenda, I think Chris asked me no slides. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist to put a slide. So to summarize, so pivot is accessible to all learners. And so in my school, I had to request it to be inserted in my learning management system because I only am allowed to use tools that are inside of my learning management system. So it needs to be ADA approved, etc. So that passed through, it went on smoothly. So now when I go to my learning management system, which is Brightspace from my school, but it should be for all kinds of learning management space. I go there, insert existing activity under the components in Brightspace, and it's listed there, Pivot. So I can link all the activities in Pivot with Brightspace. The students just need to be in Brightspace, click on the activity inside Brightspace. They don't even go to Pivot. And then their grades are linked in Brightspace. So the students see their grades in Brightspace immediately, just like any other book publisher maybe that you use or tool or have you ever used. They are linked. Well, Pivot can be linked with your learning management system too. If you want to offer it without any links, of course, you can do it. But in my school, I had to link. The greatest thing about all this is that there's no such a thing as perfect labs, and we all think in different ways. So you will always want to modify, and it is in the community library, there's so many versions that you might find the one soulmate there that's going to be perfect exactly the way you're thinking or very close, or other things that you like but you want to modify, you can edit and modify everything. So each one of the questions that Todd was showing, you can actually copy the entire question, and it says clip. You can clip it to the clipboard and it stays sort of copied. And then when you open your own workbook, your own activity, you can paste there. So you can copy chunks, just chunks you want. So it's not like you have to go drag text by text, figure by figure. No, you can copy whole chunks to your new uh, activity. The enormous advantages. So I used Pivot when we were in COVID strongly, because it's really easy to offer activities, labs or homework or activities online. So it's really easy to flip that to an online class, or if there's any class cancellation, etc. Um, but when we came back, I spent 17 years teaching physics, and only in the past couple of years, I'm full-time astronomy now, teaching just astronomy. So, um, when I came back from COVID and I was teaching physics, when we came back, I have a lot of in-person labs, right? Hands-on labs that were very good. So I didn't commit after COVID to just Pivot because I had a lot of in-person labs that were good. I wish I could complement with Pivot, but I sort of stopped using Pivot for a while when we came back, because I felt it wasn't justifiable to ask students to pay for Pivot if I were just going to use two or three things there. But it would have been awesome to complement, because there are things that we don't have the equipments for in class, and Pivot can do amazing things. So anyway, teaching astronomy now, I teach in physics. I was teaching higher level physics courses. Now in astronomy, I'm teaching the entry level physics. Their math level is the most basic algebra. So, there is a lot of trauma, or there's a lot of resistance to science, and so I had to think about how to make this fun. Most of our labs are pen paper labs, to make things fun, more interactive. In my case, all of my labs are always in groups. So one of the big activity advantages of Pivot is that I can something I cannot do in my learning management system, but I can do in Pivot. I can have the students assigned into groups, and everybody in a group will see the same screen. The moment they entered any answer, etc., everybody will see that being typed immediately the same way. So all the four students in a group will see the same thing, can share, can discuss. I make every group have 3 trials or 5 trials, depending on how hard each question is. So I want them to get it right. And I want them to discuss and help and learn from each other too. So yeah, it became like a game, and it's the way for me to a solution I found to engage that type of student I have now. So the students play with simulations. Todd was mentioning a fantastic good point about it is, right, that you can use graphing tools. So you can set up your graph. So if you're thinking like, oh, I have to explain a lot before my students were going to use the graph, you can set up your whole graph already with the slope and everything. So if you feel it's too early to talk too much about graphs to your student, you can have it so that they just collect the data, they just measure or read data and put in a table, and the graph is already done with the slope, with everything. You just instruct them to read. And this way they slowly will learn. Eventually, if it's only in the future that they will fit graphs on their own, that's okay. You can do the whole thing, set it all up for them. And as you go, you can scaffold things a lot. One great advantage for me is that my learning management system doesn't allow students to take screenshots and submit that as the answer. So sometimes in simulations, sometimes in Stellarium, in views of things, I want them to I give them sometimes PowerPoint slides where they have to just position things, put the moon in the right position in respect to the Earth, or position some arrows, etc., in the right way, and then take a screenshot of their picture, what they've done, and submit that as the answer to the question. So while learning management systems will have a lot of restrictions about students uploading pictures and all, it's fine with Pivot. So another big, there's a lot of drag and drop questions you can make inside equations with units. So for visualization of the math, for visualization of stellar evolution, lots of steps, etc. So you can make organograms with, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, the simulations. So those of you who are interested, teach astronomy, you probably have worked with the Nebraska astronomy apps. If you've ever heard of the NAP simulations and labs. So I have used 7 of those labs and brought them into Pivot. When I was doing that, I couldn't find anybody else having done that before, so I brought them into Pivot. Their labs are there in Pivot now because I brought them in, so I took my time to type, just to type things. And yeah, so there's about 7 in the solar system and 3 in the stars and galaxies that I chose to put in. I also use other naps, just simulations there, simulations from PhET, right? Certainly. Yeah, stellarium embedded there. Yeah, so I think it's easy to, there's prompt support, and I think that's the main thing I wanted to say. When you enter in any activity, you are going to have the activity itself here where it says activity content that you can edit, copy, paste parts of it. And you have this activity info tab where, as an instructor, you can then put tags so that when you share your activity, other faculty will know how to find yours. So for me, so for this optics workshop, I put an author tag here. So when we do a search inside Pivot for this tag, you can find that always. Is a short way. And we can put a disclaimer of what is the authorship, where these things came from, really. Many times we're just copying, pasting, and then doing little modifications. So we say that. In my case, many of my labs fit into a curriculum. So I'm sharing 13 labs in astronomy for astronomy of the solar system and 13 labs for astronomy of stars and galaxies that follow a curriculum. So if you think like me, it's copy paste. If you don't think like me, you're going to get parts of it that you're probably going to like and create your own. But it's anyway, so I have a tag that I'll show soon. That way you can find those 13 labs for each one of those classes. And I put the information of how my curriculum goes and a link here inside this activity info. There's a link there for more information about curriculum. And you find that for authors in general, they'll have links for more information. So as Todd was showing, you go to the menu, activities. You can click anywhere here, Pivot Library, Personal Library. Click in any one of these, and then you're going to see it switches to lots of information there, but you're going to click then on the community library. That's very powerful, is where we are sharing things with each other. And then once you access this community library, you click on the search button, you put one of the tags. In the case of my classes, is Astronomy 1 SCCC for Suffolk County Community College, or Astronomy 2 SCCC, and you will find the labs. Here's the result of AST1 SCCC. You find 13 labs, etc. Yeah, so when it comes the time for us to practice a bit more, etc., I will talk a bit about just this linked file I have here about my syllabus, etc. Todd, do you want everybody to play more focused on the physics examples for now, and then we can go to the astronomy examples later? Or we can also poll if people have questions about editing already up front.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter to me if we just want to have a little time to play. Uh, it would be nice to, if they've never ever used it, to try to
Yeah.
do one, look at it as a student. And I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. I know it was advertised both ways, and I know what all people, how many people teach uh, physics compared to astronomy, or so it doesn't matter to me. Uh, Maybe
Yeah.
let them decide and why they're getting in. If they have questions, we'll sit here and answer them how we can. And what do you think? Is that what you want to do? How about the
Yeah.
people in the crowd?
Well, here's a suggestion. Um, should we open up some breakout rooms? Then we could have a physics breakout room and an astronomy breakout room,
That'd be
and
awesome, I think.
people can choose and play. And you let me know how long you want the breakout rooms to be. So,
20 minutes? Too long?
oh,
Sure.
sure. Let's do 20 minutes. Okay. I am going to open the breakout rooms and you should be able to choose which room you want to go to. So you would go to the your toolbar and find breakout rooms. It might just invite you to a breakout room. So
I
the
think it
room,
invited us.
all right, good. So rooms are open and they've been named physics and astronomy, so you should be able to find the right room.
And you can change.
Okay, I hope that wasn't too abrupt. I'd forgotten that I'd set it to
Oh,
15-second warning, so apologies there.
Thought it was in mid-sentence. You caught him.
Oh
no, that's all right though. Ah,
And the secret to life is
no.
Never know.
42, 42.
42, that's what I thought.
I was going to say something else witty, but that was the first thing that came to mind. So yeah, 42. The cure for this disease is
Yeah. Oh, too bad. It's all over. So hopefully that was fun.
Yeah.
I'll turn it back over to Todd and Glenda.
I was going over a few things. I don't know if people still want to hear some more. I can just wrap up what I was going over still. I still have some loose ends I would like to go over, but I don't know if I can do for the whole group.
Or should I
That's
just
fine with me.
open up the rooms again? So
I,
I was way too hasty in closing the
Or
rooms.
we can just go over together. Maybe it's
Yeah.
useful. Maybe.
Yeah, then everyone can see
yeah, I
both.
didn't know, Glenn. I was just curious if how many of the people in your room had used it before? Because
I don't know.
Kareem had used it 7 years ago, and I can't remember. Was it Jose? I think is the other one, and he said never used it.
Mhm.
So
Joe, yeah.
Joe, yeah. So I didn't know about your room, but that's I think we only had two people in there. But and then Kareem and I were just talking early about alternate ways to use it, and him thinking about tutorial. We had just opened up something that was kind of showing him that FET works and
Yeah.
the different kind of questions that you can actually put in. And uh, we're showing them like the drag and drop for equations, and we were showing them uh, there's like true and false that we didn't ever get to talk to, and I don't know. The one I opened up for you, Kareem, has all kinds of different
Yeah.
uh, styles of questions. But I'm gonna like be quiet because I know that if we look at some of these really neat things, ooh, I know what that is. If we look at some of these neat things that uh, Glenda has to show, you're going to see all kinds of different styles, ways to integrate. I really just only showed one specific way in physics, but All right, Glenn, I'm going to be quiet. I'll let you talk.
This is a very cool fat simulation. So we were talking with the group about some examples of the different types of questions you can put. So you can just do the drag and drop when they're doing units and equations. You can do this was a Crab Nebula expansion where they go here and they will measure it big and small, etc. The positioning between this little blob that's expanding and the distance to the central pulsar, etc. And from those distances, they can find that this Crab Nebula explosion happening around 1050 AD. So that was the exercise, a little bit of video analysis there. I'm going fast because we talked about the stellarium you can embed or you can see on a separate big window, but we can have a lot of tables with drag and drop options here, and you can cleverly select your options here so that the students are guided to get it right eventually. And this is an example. I have 5 submissions, so they eventually get it right. We talked about possibility of getting partial credit too, but the students are working groups. They have several submissions possible. There's multiple choice questions with several possibilities. This is to find the rotational speed of the sun, images from SOHO, several days here, and they are completing a table. So we spent some time if people in our group were putting some information, collecting some longitude for one of the sunspots. It was quick, but as you put in some information here, this was set up that the graph is already done. The students, I don't need to explain much about graphs to them at this point because as soon as they insert the values, they will see the slope, and I know of the acceptable value of the slope. There's a range, but so if it is, they will then have to insert the value of the slope here. Some students got a preview before about slope in previous activities and all, but if it is wrong, they know I wasn't careful enough in reading the longitude, so I got to go back, etc. Otherwise, they could move on and they will find the period of rotation of the sun, etc. And this was a FAT question. So just so you know, this is an equation that I copy pasted to this workbook here from my labs. And they work in my labs, but sometimes when I copy paste, I also have to set it up behind the hood here. And I haven't set up something here because I see when I put the value. But when you use it for, oh boy, I'll change the number here. When I use it for my class, yeah, just this example here, I'm just looking. I've had this before where, yeah. So when I copied the FAT simulation, this whole thing right here, when the edit mode, I should have edited something in this FAT simulation beforehand. Anyway, but I don't want to, if you get to this level, then when you're copying pasting, if you just use the whole activity, you're never going to have this issue. But if you copy paste just little parts, there are other hidden things. Sometimes you got to copy paste too, only if it's the tricky things. So I asked them, so what kind of trajectory is this? What speed you needed so that you have a bound a circular or elliptical orbit, etc., to put in an object in orbit. So you can have open-ended questions, etc. So this is an activity that you find in Pivot with FAT as well, and is in one of my labs. Spectral lines, so that's pretty cool too. And they have to figure out what's the element here. So they come here and they can see what's the element. They can compare. Well, this was hydrogen. Is it mercury? Is it neon? Is it sodium? So they got to compare and tell what's the element. So this is a very cool lab. We do that in Astronomy 102, stars and galaxies, so they can figure out the elements, and then we even talk about spectral classification later, etc. So that's a nice interactive thing. This is one advantage I found again for Pivot is that in this case, this is students learning how to do this conceptual ADR diagram. So they get this file. I created this file. I just introduced here as a link. And they get this file here. And all that I want them is to to show me the variation of temperature, luminosity, mass, so in the ADR diagram. And so I want them to say that temperature is increasing to the left, that if it is on the main sequence, the mass is increasing diagonally. They know about this, we talk about this. So I need them to finish this sort of this conceptual ADR diagram to do this exercise, and then take a screen capture of this and copy paste that image there. So say, right? And they learn how to copy paste, and the instructions are there as well. And they will paste over here. And there we go. I see their picture, they get submitted, and that's what I'm going to grade. There is drag and drop, stellar evolution, right? Okay, so this is a neutron star, this is going to be a white dwarf, this can be a planetary nebula, etc. So from a red giant, what are the two ways stars can evolve, two
Hey, Glenda,
branches?
are there ranking tests? That's something that Karim asked me. Do you ever see ranking tests?
E- so in astronomy, I don't see a lot of ranking tasks, but yes, it's great to do ranking tasks. I would have put ranking tasks. Yes, you can do ranking tasks by drag and drop. What's the number one, number two,
Oh,
number
okay.
three? Yeah,
Yeah,
drag and drop would be great for ranking tasks, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the model I would use for ranking tasks. Mm-hmm.
thanks.
So you do have to make their little drawing there, right? And create those little boxes and but you can imagine the application, right? Yeah, a lot of drag and drop. Oh yeah, you can spend labs, contribute to the whole community, just doing lots of labs of activities, putting all those ranking tasks in Pivot. Cosmic ladder, so this is cool. So NAP, I do use several of the simulations. In the case of NAP, I use 7 of them for the Astronomy 101 solar system and 3 of them for the stars and galaxies. But there's so much. This is a very cool one when you embed the NAP simulations, yes, sometimes they don't fit the whole screen. And sometimes they're too big. So I always then give the student the opportunity to open the simulation on a separate page. Yeah, they will. This is the thing about Pivot. When you have a link, it's always going to open 2 tabs. And I talk to them, there's no way to make this different. So it's 2 of the same. Anyway, so they can use here or they can use right here. They can visualize the whole thing and they are just trying to fit supernova profile here and try to find through the comparing absolute magnitude and apparent magnitude, the distance to it. So they try to find D. So it's a cool use, it's easy, and then again, an open question. So this, I just wanted to give you a general idea of all these types of questions you can have. And so when you go to Pivot and you search in the community library for astronomy AST1 SCCC or AST2 SCCC, you find 13 labs on the AST1 and 13 labs on the AST2. And yeah, in these labs, when you see the information, you're going to see, I give you the summary, what each lab has. So for instance, this is Astronomy of Stars Solar System. There are 7 labs where I use a lot of the NAP simulations in the NAP labs. There are some of them that are using resources from Pivot and FAT. Some of them are images and videos that I put in, etc. So the information is there. And the same information as well for the Astronomy 102. Astronomy 102, we use simulations from other things. I don't know if you ever heard of this star in a box, very cool, and for stellar evolution and so on. I think this is what I wanted to say to feel some kind of closure. I don't know if this was useful. Hopefully it was, but yeah.
Does anybody have any specific questions or anything they would want us to show you or
Nothing like playing on your own. Nothing like playing on your own. Yeah.
I will mention that we didn't do a very good job of showing you how to make edits. But if you need that kind of instruction, as soon as you open up Pivot, there's always a little chat bot thing in the bottom, and Linda Detwalder will give you an hour of her time. And within an hour, you can be doing all kinds of things. And then Trevor helped us get it set up so that we could allow you to. So you're like all attached to my Creighton Prep account, and Linda now is also attached. But it's really great. And they'll let you do that, and I don't know how long you're going to still be able to get in and play with our stuff, but I think it's at least a month or something like that. And if you just contact them direct, they will give you usually almost always a whole month to uh, play and decide and work
Actually, Todd, it's free. Once they log in, it's totally free. And once they register as faculty, it's totally free to access anything.
oh, I didn't realize that now. Yeah.
Totally free for an instructor just to look. I mean, you can steal ideas and put on a pen and paper lab, etc. There's a lot of fantastic ideas. But yeah, the moment you want to offer that to your students, then either your school pays or each student pays $10. Then there's the whole link for registration. You're gonna post that, announce to your students ahead of time, etc. Yeah.
So, and how about the connection to your learning management system? Do you do it on your end or is it an automatic process? How does that work?
It was automatic. I create inside Pivot. I create a new class every semester. You create a new class so that it gets a new URL, a new link, and then in my learning management system, I go there, insert existing activity, and it connects and it asks, do you want to connect to a specific class? Yes. So it's a new class and pretty
And
easy once you know you connect.
and the grade book is synchronized and you don't
The
have to.
grade book is synchronized. Yes.
Okay, good.
And Kareem, I don't know on mine because I haven't done that, but after listening to Glenda, I'm going to find out. We use Canvas, pretty common, and I hope that it works. I would assume that it does,
Yeah,
but
I think it does, but I can't remember because I when during COVID I used Pivot we had Canvas and I think I was able to link it together. So, but now it's a little foggy in my head, so I need to go back
right.
double check.
Well, I like that idea. Yeah, so many ideas. Rankings, the stellar spectra, the continuum, right? The
Yeah.
thermal spectra, right? Rank the black body radiation, which starts hotter and all. Actually, that's a question in my test. How many questions are going to show everywhere?
No, but the thing I like is the fact that I mean, I didn't think about it, but it's marketed as a lab thing, but I don't really think necessarily just for labs. It's really broader than just labs. It can be used for
I use for homework as well. I
yeah,
do the labs to be more interactive, but I also do homework with it.
yeah, yeah.
I
Just,
was going to say that there's a lot here that reminds me of WebAssign
Mhm.
in its heyday, and it looks like Pivot maybe had evolved, maybe intentionally, maybe organically, I don't know, but sort of evolved to take on a lot of the same uh,
yeah,
functionality that WebAssign did.
yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
I was talking to Kareem about the fact that for AP classes, some people in the community library have created AP unit reviews, and generally they're created by finding an old FRQ, free response question, and they put that question up there, and then they've somebody's already created a lab activity that's really a lot like it. And a lot of those FRQs on the AP tests are design a lab to find out what relationship, if any, exists. And they they have it for every unit in APA and APC, the calculus based, and uh, you just have to search for them. And my kids kind of like them. They're really useful. The last week before I have kids taking the AP exam, because at least I
Review.
could go back and it's like, oh, I remember when he made us do that lab, or I remember when they did the Einstein down the inclined plane and the Einstein around, I don't know, some old carnival ride, the rotating carnival ride. And I don't know, it seems to work pretty good. And they're not repeating a lab because usually the data is already dumped in there for them. But they are doing the analysis of the lab to remember. So,
Well, I think I've been sold.
yeah, they were really friendly when we talked to them, and like if you're going to have to adopt something for your whole school, if you have 3 or 4 teachers there, I don't know if you do, but like I said, when I contacted Linda, we had a bunch of people, they were using it, but they had no way to modify. They didn't have any idea. I told her that we needed somebody to talk for an hour, and she talked for an hour, and now I got biology teachers changing stuff over, the integrated science kids. People change stuff over all the time. And we made our own little thing where, you can share stuff just within our school. So,
That's good. Well, thank you.
Oh, this
Yep,
is-
thanks very much. Appreciate it.
yeah.
I'm going to put a link in the chat to our evaluation in case people need to get
That's
going.
important. For us too, Chris?
Yes. Well,
We
you
do
don't have
too.
to, you don't need to do it, but
Okay.
I'll share the results with you. Maybe in a week or so, since some people left early, I'll send the link out via email. And I'm sure you guys are happy to stick around for another 10 or 15 minutes to answer any questions or show more
Sure.
things. But I'll officially stop the recording now.